Congratulations, you just woken up in the 1850s at a Victorian workhouse. You're alive, but your chances of having breakfast without lice are slim to none. The straw mattress under you is worse than an unrolled tumble dryer stuffed with hay and bug carcasses. And that's before mentioning the smell. It's like standing next to a garbage truck filled with week-old leftovers. You try rubbing your eyes, but only manage to smear dust across them. The room is so dark that even after squinting for what feels like an eternity, you can barely make out the outline of a window high above. It's like those 5 a.m. alarms are screaming in your head instead of actual clock chimes. Your stomach grumbles as another person starts coughing nearby. Their hacking so violent it echoes off the walls. And yet, here's a mystery. Why is everyone wearing what looks like mismatched prison uniforms? But here's what nobody expected. Lucky you, that woman isn't just any visitor. She's the matron, with eyes as cold as the stone floor beneath your feet. As she begins to bark out orders about lining up for breakfast, more like gruel, it dawns on you that this place might not be just another poorhouse. But probably not. Everything changes when the matron's voice rings through the air with authority, her words leaving no room for questions. Your heart sinks as she calls out your new name here, and you realize that surviving in this workhouse is more than just enduring cold and hunger. But what will they do to you if you try to escape? And how far would you have to run before it's safe from their grasp? These questions linger as you stand there, about to face whatever comes next. But here's what nobody expected: that your entire day at the workhouse would be dictated by them, and that every choice you make could mean the difference between a meager meal or none at all. You blink, trying to process it all. But probably not. You blink awake as the church bell clangs in the distance. Scene: a Victorian workhouse dormitory. Dawn breaking through grimy windows, the first thing you notice is your bed, or rather, your cot. It's a narrow plank of wood with straw-stuffed sack for padding, and you're sharing it with at least 24 others, all under the watchful eye of the head matron. Scene: an elderly woman in a severe black dress, standing guard over you. The room stinks of sweat, unwashed bodies, and a faint tang of mildew. The air is cold despite the morning light filtering through stained glass windows. Your breath forms tiny puffs as you exhale, adding to the fog already hanging low from the damp walls. Scene: condensation dripping down brick walls. You shiver involuntarily, your thin nightshirt doing little to fend off the chill. Time to rise, a voice barks nearby. It's the overseer of the workhouse, a stern-faced man with keys jingling at his belt. He claps his hands loudly to wake everyone up. The room springs into chaotic movement as dozens of people scramble out of their cots and begin dressing in uniforms, rough brown trousers and shapeless gray tunics. You're no exception. Your possessions are few, consisting only of the clothes on your back. Scene: the overseer pointing at you, gesturing for you to follow him. You join a long line of men, women, and children marching down winding stone corridors toward a large dining hall. Tables stretch as far as the eye can see, laden with porridge and bread that look more like burlap sacks than food. Scene: a massive room filled with rows upon rows of tables. Breakfast. Someone mutters behind you, their tone dripping sarcasm. You try a spoonful of what passes for oatmeal. It tastes bland, almost flavorless, and then the bell rings again. The clanging sound sends a shiver down your spine, not just from fear, but because it's like an ancient alarm clock, harsh, unyielding, and utterly merciless. Scene: the same elderly matron watching you with disapproving eyes as everyone rushes to clear their dishes. You're directed outside into the workyard where the real work begins. But here's the thing. You were expecting something strenuous like building walls or tending fields. What you didn't anticipate was standing in a muddy field, handed a broom and bucket. Suddenly, the workhouse overseer points at an endless stretch of dirt path winding out into a vast open area filled with other workhouses. The realization dawns on you that this isn't just about survival. It's about your soul-crushing existence being meticulously regulated. Scene: a man pointing towards endless rows of identical buildings. You wonder, what happens if you can't keep up? Would they send you back to bed hungry? Or worse, would they punish you for your weakness? You start sweeping the path with renewed vigor, but as you do, the sun climbs higher in the sky, casting long shadows that stretch across the workyard. The cold morning is replaced by an unrelenting heat from above, and below your feet sink into mud while sweat trickles down your back. Scene: workers moving slowly under a blazing sun, and just when you thought it couldn't get worse, a new task arrives, something more demanding than the previous ones. But here's what nobody expected. You're aroused from sleep at 5 a.m. sharp by a bell that sounds like it's right outside your window, even though it isn't. Scene: you stumble to the grimy wash basin with cracked glass for water. But here's the thing. As you stand there scrubbing your face with cold, murky water, you notice something strange. There are no mirrors anywhere. You'd think this would be just another oddity in a long list of indignities you're facing. Maybe it's some kind of religious thing, or they want to save money on glass and frames. But here's what nobody expected. There's a deeper reason why mirrors are banned. You'd think it's just superstition. Maybe they're worried about ghosts or something equally silly. But here's what nobody expected. Mirrors aren't banned because of superstitions. And that's all before breakfast. You'd think this would be a simple mystery, but it's about to get a whole lot more complicated. You're served your gruel in a bowl made from wood chips stuck together with tar. Scene: an inmate next to you glances at her bowl and says, "It's supposed to remind us of our station." You think they just want to cut costs on bowls. Maybe it's because they can't afford proper crockery, or the inmates might break them out of spite. But here's what nobody expected. The real reason is far more sinister. Everything changed when you realized that these bowls are deliberately made to look like cheap trash, so inmates feel less human. It's not about saving money. It's about breaking spirits. Scene: the overseer turns and looks directly at you, a sick smile playing on his lips. You'd think after such an unsettling discovery, things would start looking up. But here's what nobody expected. And that's all before the workday starts. Congratulations, you've just discovered that your fellow workhouse inmates are up to something far more sinister than stealing soup. You catch whispers and shadows moving in corners, but every time you try to get closer or ask questions, they scatter like rats from a cat. But here's the thing. What if it's not about theft at all? You can feel eyes watching you sharp and calculating. It's like being on a reality TV show, but instead of getting voted off, people disappear in the night. Your gut tells you something big is about to go down. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, your suspicions are confirmed by a flicker of movement under an old wooden bench. You think it was someone's dirty laundry, or maybe a stray cat seeking shelter. Maybe it's just another inmate who fell asleep here after a long day. But probably not. It's something else entirely. You're about to uncover a secret that will change everything. One moment you think it's just an injured worker seeking refuge from the harsh conditions of the workhouse. The next, your mind races through darker possibilities. It could be evidence of a secret rebellion brewing in the shadows, a plan to overthrow the oppressive regime. Or maybe it's something far more sinister. It's not until later that night, when everyone is asleep and the only sounds are rats scurrying across the floorboards, that you decide to read the note. You'd think it would give you some answers, or perhaps even hope for change. But probably not. As the moonlight filters through a tiny crack in the window, illuminating just enough of the words to make them clear, everything changes when... You'll have to wait until next time to find out what that note says. But let us just say it might be the last thing you ever read. You notice her eyes darting around nervously, almost as if she's searching for something or someone. "Excuse me," she whispers urgently, tugging at your sleeve. Do you know what they hide down here? Scene: a narrow staircase leading to an unknown chamber. But here's the thing. You've heard stories about this place being more than just a shelter for the destitute. There are rumors of dark rooms and even darker secrets that only a few have ever spoken of. Scenes: you follow her down the stairs, your heart pounding like it's trying to escape your chest. You'd think these workhouses were built to house the poor and needy. Maybe they were designed to be some kind of medieval welfare system. Actually, it was neither. These places were more like prisons for those who couldn't pay their way in society. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, the room is dimly lit by flickering candles that cast eerie shadows on the walls. You can hear whispers from behind closed doors and feel the weight of unspoken truths in every page. She hesitates for a moment, her eyes meeting yours with an intensity that sends shivers down your spine. This, she says, holding up the key, is the key to knowledge and freedom here. Scene: the key glints in the candlelight, as if it's made of secrets instead of metal. You'd think such a key would unlock any door you want. Maybe it's just for opening cabinets or chests. Actually, it's not about what it unlocks at all. The woman hurries away without another word, leaving you standing there with more questions than answers. Scene: your mind races as you wonder where the key leads and why it's so important. Everything changed when that key appeared. Suddenly, the workhouse wasn't just a place for survival. It was an institution built on secrets. As you stand there in the dim light, wondering where to go next and what secrets lie ahead, a voice echoes down from above. Remember, it says, barely audible over your pounding heart. In here, silence is louder than screams. Scene: the cold stone walls seem to close in around you, but probably not before you find out why. You've just finished another day in this place, but probably not before you find out why. The clank and rattle of metal plates is replaced by an eerie stillness, like when a party ends and everyone leaves, except no one here had the luxury of leaving. You're dismissed to your dormitory with the same sense of relief as stepping out of a crowded theater into the quiet night. But probably not before you think about why. The room is dark except for the small slits that let in moonlight or rain, depending on which day it is. The beds are long rows of thin straw mattresses with rough blankets, barely enough to keep away the chill. You try not to think about how many people have slept here before you, each one a story of hardship and survival. But probably not before reflecting why they ended up here. And that's when it hits you. You've lived through a day in the workhouse, but what does that mean? It means long hours of backbreaking labor, meager rations, and constant reminders of why you're here. It's like running a marathon without knowing where the finish line is. But probably not before realizing how little has actually changed. You close your eyes and try to sleep. The room is silent except for the occasional snore or shifting of bodies in restless slumber. In this moment, as darkness wraps around you like a blanket, it dawns on you how little has changed since then. We still struggle with poverty, inequality, and survival every day. You just live through what could have been your life in another time, another place. And perhaps that's the strangest part. Not that they live this way, but that we forgot they ever did. In sleep, you carry a secret with you. The memory of hard beds and harsh realities fades into dreams, but the lessons linger. You drift off, wondering what tomorrow will bring in this place where every day is a struggle for survival. But probably not before you realize how much of that struggle still echoes today.